They said great, paved the way, changed the rate, release the pain, least you sane, getting paid, trend setting, brighter days, doper raps, tight as set, high and deadly, I'm a fighter jet, journey.
What's really good, ladies and gentlemen? It's the OG Boricua Dandada. Y'all already know what it is. I got Rob K of MLW Confusion, Mr. Muffins Martinez, who's wearing the shiniest hat I've ever seen in my life. It's literally reflecting light back at me and Rob where we can get a tan. Gentlemen, before we go into anything, it's Friday. How was your week so we can hit the weekend right?
Yeah, tell Junior I know how to hit record.
Rob, hopefully it was a good work week.
Oh, it's been a long week. Just thanks to the Never Say Never stuff going on and just some other projects going on. So I say I'm looking forward to the weekend, but I'm just going to be working on, more projects. So, yeah. Well, yeah, a bit cheap plug, though. The weekend's bringing It's Still Real to Me, the sequel from SCW Pro at the Bluegrass Drive-In Theater. So that's an officially sponsored MLW Confusion event. So if you happen to be in Eastern Iowa, Saturday the 15th, I don't know when we're releasing this, so I mean, it's probably gone now. It's probably gone. It was a great event, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you.
Yeah, amazing event.
All right. So first off, I want to talk the MLW draft because I love the draft. And I know technically we kind of went through the first two, but this one, we're going to start with the new one first, and then we'll kind of go backwards for the last three because we have to do this every time it drops because I love the draft. So, O'Shea Edwards, and I know, Rob, I want to go last because he makes the most sense of what he's going to say, even though I completely disagree. O'Shea Edwards comes into the draft. Bomaye Fight Club's now first ever legit draft pick is the beast. This guy is just a freak of nature. O'Shea Edwards not only comes into MLW, but as now a member of Bomaye Fight Club. Bomaye Fight Club is looking at a point right now where they are looking really unstoppable. You got Mr. Thomas there. We got O'Shea Edwards. So this is, the smallest dude, is Alex Kane, which is crazy. The heavyweight champ of the world. Muffins, please talk to me about some O'Shea Edwards because I'm hyped up on this.
Hey, that's the third pick. It's a good pick. Go right to the Bomaye Club. I'm just hoping whatever picks we get, we'll start getting some females get picked too. Because I want some new female blood in MLW.
I know we all want Viva Van to be part of MLW.
I already tagged that on Twitter. At Viva Van, at Kim Broadway. So hopefully some of my favorites will get picked up depending how many picks it's going to be, how many rounds. I want some females in MLW, man.
At least one. At least one more. I'll take as many as I can. Give me 2, 3. I don't care. I want some fresh, young talent. I don't want the same people we see every week in different companies. I want some brand new, fresh talent. Okay, so we know we have O'Shea Edwards, and Rob's going to go into that, but I'm going to ask you, if Becca was to be drafted, would you be okay with that? Because we know she's not signed to MLW.
Oh, I'll be fine with that.
Okay.
It'll be kind of lazy to do that, like they did with O'Shea Edwards, because we already seen them. But I'll be fine with Becca getting signed to MLW.
Rob, talk to me some O'Shea Edwards, and if you want to kind of jump in on the Becca thing.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to start with the sugar part of this because there's going to be some vinegar with it as well. I love O'Shea Edwards. He's a guy that can be fast tracked to the top of the card right away. I would have no problem if he was just magically just come in and dethrone Alex Kane. That's how much I like O'Shea Edwards. Whoa. I don't actively want that to happen, but I'd be okay with it. Again, this I'm not booking that, but I wouldn't complain that much either. Just because O'Shea is that legit. He is a big dude who can wreck things. So this is a great pickup for the Bomayes. obviously. My biggest complaint about this, though, is that we've had this conversation a time or two. I don't mind the concept of a draft, but if you're going to call it a draft, you need to treat it like a draft, and that means going after the big, the free agents or unproven talent, etc., etc., etc. If you're going to draft people that have already debuted for your company in some way, shape, or form, is it truly a draft? Even if we're going to just go to the real sports, teams don't actively sign the players and then draft them. It's the other way around. Or in the rare occasions, people can get drafted and refuse to sign with the team that drafted them. And so I feel like this is to continue to call it a draft makes it kind of laughable if they're going to bring in Edwards, who they've already announced is part of MLW, is being announced for shows, and actually has already appeared with the Bomayes a time or two, even prior to his announced participation with MLW formally. That being said, and then you bring up the Becca aspect of it, and I find that one to be even more laughable and calling it a draft, just because now she's actively wrestled with it before we even had the draft concept of it.
Well, but she's not signed though.
So at this point, she's here. Is it a draft if she's here?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
why I call it a lazy draft right there.
I am so upset by this. I have to have Affogato come console me. That's how upset I am about this concept of a draft and then drafting a guy you've already
kind of thing. I thought it was the evil villain.
Yeah.
No. She doesn't like Daddy yelling. That's she likes Daddy being helping or happy. But again, overall, I like the pick of O'Shea. I would still complain about a draft if they drafted Becca, because again, she's wrestled for the company. But Becca's a star. So, again, I will allow it. But to kind of piggyback off of Muffins, I definitely agree. And the draft's still young. There's at least 2 more rounds, I assume. They say there's 5. There's at least 2 more rounds. I assume there'll be a female in the batch. I don't see why they wouldn't. Do I have any predictions of who? No. Women's wrestling is so wide open in general. That is just throwing a dart at the globe and hoping just to hit land just to pick anything worthwhile.
When they mentioned return to the draft, did they mention how many rounds or no?
No,
I don't think they did.
All right, so it could be more than 5 then.
It could be, but I feel if depending on how they're announcing things, that just might drag things out entirely too long. If they've moved back to once a week. I mean, granted, we got some big events. Big events seem to be coming up monthly now, so they can do what they did at Never Say Never, and do a couple picks. And there's nothing stopping them from doing 2 picks from. And there's. Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's my thing. If they're doing once a week, I think we're the end of the tunnel for this is within sight. Again, is it 1 more pick, 2 more picks, 3 more picks? Are they doing a grand finale at Fury Road? I don't know. But I definitely I think it'd be a poor choice if they didn't draft at least 1 female within the draft. And if they really wanted to go cray with it, might as well get bring in a tag team as part of the draft too. Because the tag team division overall, they have some fun teams, but let's realistically, I don't know how long the FBI is gonna stick around, and they kind of lack for credible teams on top of it, because when was the last time the FBI actually won a match? Has the main event actually won a match?
No, not.
Yeah,
FBI actually beat the main event.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
So even bring in a tag team and bolster up the tag team division too. I mean, but the possibilities are endless, just because of the nature of pro wrestling and the scope of professional wrestling in general. So I don't even know who's going to be on the radar, because let's face it, I didn't even think who would have thought Snitsky would be coming back in the year 2023. And granted, I don't think he's being drafted, but just anyone, anywhere.
No, I agree. So we know that, and we won't go into it, even though we got some comments that people like how brutally honest we were about Matt Cardona and MSL. So we're going to skip over Matt Cardona. I know Kevin Blackwood, I know Jorge's a big fan of. I know you know his work. I know BV thinks he's the man. I did my homework. I started looking for any kind of wrestling matches I could find. I don't think the MLW has a guy like him on their roster right now. So I think he could easily stand out and be kind of in that Ikuro field for that the middleweight belt. I think that would be a really nice feud going forward as long as the calling ain't jumping this guy all the time. And I think that could help Ikuro also grow because this guy is super, super talented. Who I need in the draft, and I know you guys talk about Kevin Blackwood all you want. Who I need in this draft is TJ Crawford. Now, I don't want to skip over him because me and Muffins talked that this guy had the best match of the whole night. Him versus Ken Broadway was phenomenal. And I know Ken Broadway's work. I didn't know much of TJ Crawford. And I don't consider myself a fan of many people, especially so quick. I am a fan of TJ Crawford, and I think this guy is the man. Like, he just, at times I was like, all right, this fight is over. What a finale, what a finish. And it wasn't. And I was like, okay, it wasn't one of those annoying matches with 6 million falsies that you just kind of go, all right, when is this going to end? No, that shit was amazing. Ken Broadway pulls out the crazy win. But I think this did more for TJ Crawford than it did for Ken Broadway.
Yeah, this was totally a nice, smooth sail match. I mean, dude, they had no hiccups in this. It was a straightforward, nice, classic match. Like I said, like you mentioned, I mean, this is like the best match I've seen in a while in MLW, where start to finish, it was just a complete nice science. Like, this is the type of match you got to show to the youngsters coming up and say, okay, you want to watch a match that there's no hiccups and people are in stride with each other, show them this match as one of the curriculum classes and stuff, and take notes on how things should be done and how comfortable they both look with each other and stuff like that. That's the match you want to use in a class.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think really, like, as much as we can spout off about how great the match was, I feel like the biggest praise that can be given to the match overall is the crowd. In was it New York? Was that taping? Because
that one, yeah.
when both guys came in, like, there really wasn't a whole lot of noise for either of them. Like, yes, both of them have been in MLW like a handful of times. Well, maybe Crawford, maybe not a full handful, but he's done at least one or two other matches, and Broadway's done, an actual handful. But like, the crowd wasn't really doing much of anything when the guys showed up, and even at the start of the match, they were pretty quiet. But like by the end, though, the crowd was vocal and ready for whatever was going to happen. And really, like, as a live performer, like, that is what you want, especially for guys that really don't have much name value to them. Like, I mean, yes, we know what a Ken Broadway is. We've seen him a bit. Some of the more hardcore fans know what a TJ Crawford is, but like, the casuals, like, probably have like no clue who they are, and And see, there you go. And they won you over. By the end of that match, they won you over. So, like, as I half jokingly said about Never Say Never, I really wasn't familiar with what Ava Everett is. And then by the end of that match, I sure as hell knew. That was the performance Crawford and Broadway did last night. Yeah. If you weren't a fan or you weren't really familiar with who they were, you figured it out pretty darn quick.
And something else too. This is the type of match that gets out there, and people are talking about it through the business. And this is the type of match that gets their name out there. Some promoters might be watching and saw this or heard about it. Now they go watch this match and they go like, damn, these two guys did their shit. I need to bring them to one of my shows. And the word of mouth gets out there. People start talking. Before you know it, TJ Crawford has more appearances. So those came with Broadway. They start making the money. And that's how it starts. The word of mouth, people start talking, and you never know. Next thing you know, there'll be the next pay-per-view in September.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to end this one on a Let's Go Bomaye Fight Club for life. They're about to dominate. Gentlemen, we're out of here. Deuces.